But this guy filmed kicking a police officer during a protest in Footscray, wearing an ankle bracelet, surrounded by an angry mob. Well, just 2 days ago, he stomped in the head of a 62-year-old man in Footscray, leaving him brain dead and fighting for his life. But before we get to how utterly incompetent our government is, let me tell you what I've been told about that day he kicked the cop. So what did the police officers do on the ground that day? They tried to defend themselves and fight back with barely any officers on the ground. They were outnumbered, they were under-resourced, and with no support. Why? Because according to multiple sources that have reached out to me, when the police officers on the ground called for backup, they were denied. And they were even allegedly told not to use force despite being under attack. And that decision didn't come from street level. It must have come from higher up. Why? Because the government doesn't want the optics. They didn't want the footage of a violent migrant being stopped. Because you're not allowed to make mass immigration look bad under the current government. And now, the same man, Lomaja Friday Yukaja, has been charged after stomping in a 62-year-old man's head whose name is Dominic O'Brien. There was no motive, there was no connection, but it left him brain dead and now fighting for his life. And in court recently, Yokiju laughed it off. Now, this is the part where our government has failed us. And for that, we have to go back to 2020. Yokiju stabbed an Uber driver. He was jailed and his visa was cancelled, and he was meant to be deported after serving his time. But in 2023, the High Court ruled indefinite detention is unlawful, meaning if the government can't deport you soon, they can't hold you. So instead of being deported, he was released on a bridging visa. And then he popped up in April 2025, kicking the police officer in a protest in Footscray. He breached his bail, he breached his curfew, but guess what? No charges were laid. And then just a few days ago, he curb stomped a 62-year-old man who is now fighting for his life. Now, every single step of this was preventable, but the system from the High Court to Albanese to Jacinta Allen's government let this happen. And this isn't just happening in Australia. France, Germany, Sweden, the UK, Europe, once strong, stable countries, now flooded with immigration and crime. Cultural values are being erased and public safety is collapsing. And guess what? There was not one single shot fired from a foreign invading force. There was no tanks, no soldiers, and no war. Just open borders and weak leaders. And policies that are destroying nations from within. This is how you dismantle a country without firing a single shot. It's a silent invasion. And if we don't speak up, it's going to be too late. Albanese now has blood on his hands. Jacinta Allen also has blood on her hands. We're not being invaded by a foreign force. We are being dismantled from within. And if you're worried about what a strong man can do, then you should be horrified at what a weak man can do. And Anthony Albanese is a weak man. What's your thoughts?